Yes. Welcome, everybody. We are here. We are live. And if you are joining us live, it's, of course, Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, which is time for the High Noon Hemp Show, your hemp infotainment show, if you will, here every week, just for you. In many places, by the way, if you're on Facebook, you can check out the Hemptations Beach Facebook page. If you're on the YouTubes, it's the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. And if you're on X, or if you still call it Twitter, whichever, make sure you're following at Hemptations on there. I'm Stoner Jesus. You can, if you have the Netscape or the AOL, you can search various things I do on the interwebs. He is Beach. He is high above the Hemptations and the Flower Factory in Northside, Ohio Beach. How are things this week in the world of Hemptations?
Well, it's been another little crazy week here in Ohio with some stuff, so we'll get to that here in a minute. But first and foremost, remember, folks, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. And let's go ahead and do our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil in which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. All right. Well, we've got 149 days or so until the federal ban takes place. I will stick with my predictions that statistically, I guess if I was taking odds on the ban getting banned, I would say, I'd probably go, 5-1 in the next month, go down to probably 3-1 in the next 2 months. And then probably go 1-1 within 3 months. So I think within 3 months, they're gonna do something because the Republicans are the Republicans are the ones that are feeling the impact of it, and they're the ones that are fighting for their lives in the midterms. And so this will be one more thing that I think they're going to come out and say they did, even though. And again, it will be some Republicans that are doing it, but it's the same Republicans that have been fighting and defending hemp since day one.
Right.
They're not changing their stance in any way to get behind this, but they will be able to get their constituents on board, or their peers, I should say, their peers on board with something, because they're fighting for their lives, politically speaking. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm correct, but the momentum is still swinging that way. It's just at this point the ball is rolling, and I think there's really too many balls out there in play because there's more than one coming from different directions, in the federal government calling for a ban on the ban. And what's interesting is, in the same kind of reverse note, you're seeing a lot of states, and I'll talk about this in a minute, a lot of states that are now trying to get ahead of the ban by making sure that these products will stay legal in their states after the ban. And so it's a funny game. It's a stupid game. I shouldn't say it's funny. It's funny, peculiar, not funny, haha.
Right.
And then there's a huge difference.
Yes.
That was something my mom always used to say. It's funny, peculiar, not funny, haha. Anyway, okay, so one judge, and I mentioned this last week, and this is his actual wording. Okay, so I did get some wording. The judge in Ohio, for the one business in Sandusky County that says they have the right to operate, in his judgment said, SB 56 is thus inherently discriminatory on its face against the Commerce Code. I'd forgotten about the Commerce Code, okay, because the Commerce Code is a very little used. It's kind of a, it comes off the shelf every once in a while, to once again, and it's on the same aspect of how I've been talking about this being a commerce commerce law issue. That's kind of what I mean. Consumerism law, not commerce. A consumerism law issue. Consumerism law basically is the same or backs up with the commerce code, but they don't use the commerce code much anymore. But apparently, this judge said, "Hey, maybe archaic, but it's the law." Because that's what judges are supposed to do. They're supposed to figure out whether something's the law or not. In these particular cases, this one said, once again, backing up everything that I've said, these businesses at 100% absolutely have the right to sell these products in the state of Ohio in SB 56, just the hemp clause for that matter. And that's basically what the judge attacked was, the hemp clause part of all of, and some of the other parts too. But anyway, and then now, okay, last week I said these companies were getting together. Some companies in the state were getting together suing the state, and lo and behold, the judge in that court put a temporary restraining order on SB 56. Now, by doing that for these companies, once again, he's done it for all. You can say it's for these 10 companies because these 10 companies are mentioned in the lawsuit, but it's all of us. So I am seriously contemplating putting the drinks back into the refrigerator, putting all of the stuff back on the shelf that I had to box up and didn't know what to do with at this point, because I totally believe that currently, and this started on the 15th, this temporary restraining order started on the 15th. So we basically have 2 weeks till the end of July to sell these products. So I'm gonna roll it around the legal minds, but I totally, everything tells me that if these 10 companies, if there is a temporary restraining order on SB 56 for any reason, there's a temporary restraining order on SB 56. That's it. So currently we are under a temporary restraining order of Ohio SB 56. And we got 2 weeks. And then we'll see what happens, how the judge rules in 2 weeks. It's very likely at the end of this 2 weeks, this judge comes out and says the exact same thing that the other judge comes out or went out and said, because guess what? If they don't use that in court, their lawyers aren't worth their weight in feathers. Because which weighs more? A ton of bricks or a ton of feathers? No. So anyway, I think again, very much moving in the right direction. And here's the thing: they got what they wanted. They got all these businesses having to take all this stuff off the shelf and losing money and closing up and not knowing what to do. And so when the judge finally says this is not, what you did was not legal, once again, and we all start following these precedences, DeSwine and his cronies are still going to be up there going, yeah, but look how many people we shut. Look how many business we closed down. Look how much we've hurt businesses' sales and this, that, and all the other. The fact of the matter is not paying attention to their peers that are the ones that want these products on the shelves. And DeSwine can deny that all they want to. But, those are the people that are making, these were the ones that were crying no on SB 56. They weren't kids or young people. All right. They're my generation and older people. Okay. And so, again, we'll find out how it all plays out one way or another. So on a personal note, I was diagnosed with stoner hemp brain disease on Facebook recently.
That's a
And
shame.
this is all over an AI Facebook post. All right. So, and again, I use Facebook's AI thing very rarely. Like I swear I've only actually posted 2 AI generated pictures ever. All right. I posted an AI generated picture on the Psych fans website. If you don't know, Psych was a TV show. It's great. I love it. It's probably one of my all-time favorite shows on the planet. Um, and so there's a line, and again, the scene is from the main character Sean and Cheech Moran in a hospital room. Okay, and the guy that's trying to kill them is upped their drug amount, their morphine or whatever it is. And at some point, Sean yells, "I'm on a banana boat, Jack. Come aboard." And to me, I feel like that's now like it should be like code for being high. You know what I mean? So I just made an AI generated picture of me on a banana boat going through the woods with a joint. I just again, and this guy, he comes at me and attacks me, and eventually he says, well, the first thing he says is, get rid of that AI slop. It's no good for anybody. And so I came back, with a kind of a psych retort was this, don't be a Luddite in a postmodern digital world, because they like to do that. Don't be a this and a that. That was a big thing on psych. And of course, he doesn't get it. I doubt this guy's even a psych fan at this point. But he does come back and tell me that I'm destroying the planet and I am not eco-friendly and all this. That's what he tells me. Okay. So at that point, I'm like, okay, let's just get one thing straight. I wear hemp head to toe every day. I bet you wear cotton and polyester all day, which has destroyed the planet. I said, I bet you use petrochemically based soap, shampoo, products, whatever. I use all hemp based, this, that, and all the other. And they just kind of go through, like comparing what I'm pretty sure his life is compared to my eco-friendly life. That's when he comes back and diagnoses me with with stoner hemp brain disease. And at first I was like, that's like the dumbest insult I think I've ever heard. And now I feel like I'm just going to embrace it. You know what I mean? I'm just going to be like, I'm going to tell people when I've talked about hemp for like 10 or 15 minutes in a row to someone, I'm going to be like, I'm sorry, I have been diagnosed with stoner hemp brain disease.
Right. It's a shame.
So let's all embrace it. I hope I give it to you. I hope it's contagious. I don't know if stoner hemp brain disease is contagious, but I hope it is. I really do.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Sounds like something that would be.
Yeah.
We all have. It's a shame.
Yeah. He thought he was insulting me once again. And then, of course, I was like, it didn't take you long to start calling me names. And he called me some other names, too. And that's when I get done with him. I'm like, dude, you have no clue. You're just whatever. And that's when I walk away. But and I will have to say, I did forget. He did come back with this. Well, I've got a gay friend, because he did come back and he did say in the next text, he said, I wear hemp clothes. And I was like, and I'm thinking, yeah, you're one pair of hemp Sanooks and hemp, it's like, just because you have one hemp item doesn't mean.
Right.
Anyway, some good stuff in this world. I just think the fact that I really do think, and I'm done. I'm done with all the political stuff and the negativity and and again, I'm never offended by being called names, because all that does is reaffirm to me that the person calling me those names is not intelligent. So I get, it's like, you're never going to offend me by calling me a name. You're only just going to continue to tell me what kind of human you are. Only you can be offended by what somebody calls you. Only you. And so anyway, it's just a funny little game. But I can't. At least he didn't call me a libtard. I'll give him that. You know what I mean? But I think he thought. I think he was. I think he was. Whatever. Anyway, so. Oh boy. I had to call him out for being like, dude, you're complaining about Facebook's AI on Facebook.
Right.
I mean, gee, I mean, do you know how ignorant that is? Have you attacked any politicians? Are you going at Facebook's neck? Because guess what? I've changed laws. I've made the planet better by doing things politically. Anyway. All right, folks. I do apologize for using AI for fun.
How dare you?
How dare I use AI for fun? Because again, to me, that's the only reason AI should exist. If you're getting advice from AI or whatnot, I don't know how great that is. Some of it is great. And again, I get the argument against the data centers. I really do. I mean, yeah, cotton wastes a bunch of water too. Nobody's trying to fucking close all the cotton shops. But all of a sudden, because data centers take a bunch of water, that's the biggest argument against them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I get it. But honestly, if we got rid of cotton as a material, do you know how much water we would save? Oh, my Lord. Yeah. So, all right, I'm done with that rant. That was, I'm sorry that is, in fact, a side effect of stoner hemp brain disease. It's obviously something, that I've been well aware of. Now it's got a name. We're just going to move on. We're going to keep going forward. That's all I can do. I mean, now that I've been diagnosed, I can't go backwards. I can't deny it. It's got to be true. One person on the internet diagnosed me with it. All right. Let's get on with some good old product spotlight from the store, one from my door here on the High Noon Hemp Show. The first one, some belts. Do you need some belts? I've been needing my belts recently because I have been, again, the vegetarian lifestyle. I've lost a little bit of weight. I've been working out, doing my free yo chi workouts almost daily. So, if you need a belt, we got some. Not a whole lot, but there they are. Working in the garden, working outside, need some gloves. I want some garden gloves. We got the ones with the little black dots, so those are good for like wearing for like if you're shoveling or holding on to any type of cutting, whatever, loppers, whatnot. And then we got the canvas, what we'd call the canvas style. It is a canvas kind of weave. And then there's even like a net weave, and those are top hand gloves. And so, if you need some gloves, come on in and get you some gloves. These, I forgot to even mention we're in the third week of Hemp History Month. We'll be starting at 1937. Both of these are obviously post 1937 and will be talked about at some point today. But these are actually postcards. And so I wish I would have noticed the postcards last week because I have a lot of postcards that addressed things that I talked about on last week's episode going from year 0 to 1937. But anyway, so you're going to hear more about both of these things shortly, or I should say at the end of the show. You're just going to have to tune in. That's all it is. That's how we're closing the show. And the last one is handmade jewelry. And we have a lot of it. This is just the one particular rack that I have out on the counter right now. We probably have a good, I'm going to guess, 50 to 80 pieces of hemp jewelry And it is, we're full blown hemp jewelry season, for sure. And so, if you can't find something, I'm guessing we probably even have some hemp jewelry that may be considered 250th anniversary of the United States appropriate. I'm gonna have to go look. I don't know, but I would almost guess. I would almost guess there's got to be something.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, I'm showing mine off today. Mine's some fancy stuff. These are very inexpensive. Very inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How about there's 4 from the store. How about 1 from my door? I talked about this, I think, last week even.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my burnout sunblock. And it's not just made from hemp oil. It's made from virgin hemp oil. So, I don't know what that really, really means, but it's probably just been refined, maybe. I don't know. But this was excuse me. The stoner part of my stoner hemp brain disease just kicked up. Oh, shoot. So this was a product we used to carry. And so this is, I keep it in my fridge on the boat. And always have, but there's some good old hemp sunblock. If you need some sunblock, you can easily find some hemp sunblock. There's some good stuff out there. If you just Google it, do a little shopping search. Either way. All right, there you have it. 4 from the store, 1 from my door.
Indeed.
Right here. High Noon Hemp Show.
This, of course, brings us to the beachwear segment. We talk about all of the hemp clothing, of course, Beach mentioned, that he owns. He dresses head to toe in hemp every single day. So on Wednesdays, we get to discuss his outfit and he goes through it. But again, this works anytime. All you have to do is ask Beach the question that I'm about to ask him. If you see him out and about, it works the same as it does on the show. You ask him and he'll tell you about what he's wearing. And of course, we like to talk about the, as we have for a little while, the Guinness World Records, because if you didn't know, the Guinness World Records doesn't care about hemp records, cannabis records of any kind. They have a policy against it. So we have to chronicle all of the records that Beach has set and currently holds, and that includes all of the clothing records. But before we get to that, we do like to check out what the Guinness World Records is focused on these days. And today, well, I mean, it's useless, but I guess it is kind of cool. It's Jonathan the Tortoise. He's believed to have been born in 1832. I mean, I guess that's all it takes for a record nowadays. He's believed to have been born in 1832. I guess they can't verify that, but they'll accept it as fact anyway. He is the oldest living land animal at the grand old age of 194 years. The giant tortoise, their average life expectancy is 150 of his species. So he's made it 44 years past that. So congratulations. It's not hemp. It's not, anything important for the planet, but it is a cool story about a very old tortoise who's seen almost 200 years of the world. So there you go. Happy birthday, happy world record to Jonathan, the giant tortoise.
Now, I will have to say that I do think that, I was right around 156 on one of my clothing records.
There you go. So congratulations to him. And we're going to celebrate Jonathan and his 194 years by asking Beach one very simple question. What are you wearing, Beach?
That's right. It's Hemp History Month. We're in the 3rd week here on the High Noon Hemp Show. What are you wearing, Beach? Well, it's quite relative. On top there, I've got a Fair Hemp hat. And, of course, that's the hemp in the Ford logo, just so you know. And then my necklace is once again a Beach-made hemp necklace. My T-shirt, Hemp History Week from 2011. And if you look closely, you'll see it was actually in May. So This was, I believe that, I don't know if 2011 was, like the first, but it was very much, I believe, one of the first, if they were doing it in May, either way. And my shorts are Prana. My belt is Hempies. The pen in my pocket, of course, Green Springs Technology. Got some Hemptopia briefs. And those are my um, question mark socks, because I forget. I know I got them on Amazon, but I forget what the company name was, and that's terrible because they should get props. But I just went back and looked, and they don't have them on Amazon anymore. So I might have to do some deeper search into the Google look. At this point, I really do hate to support Amazon as much. I would rather Google it and find like someone's website and buy it from them. Either way, and so that's what I try to do at this point. The only reason I looked on Amazon was to see because I'd already bought some. But anyway, my shoes are my Saucony Jazz sneakers, which are, of course, vegan shoes. I have, I think, 3 or 4 pairs of the vegan line of Sauconys, which is all hemp uppers. And everything's pretty much stitched together. I don't know. I will have to say that I have noticed on one pair, and I need to get some shoe goo. And again, I cannot bitch that the soles are starting to come off, because here's the deal. These are vegan shoes, which means they used vegan glue, which guess what, is probably not as good as whatever crap animal glue, just so you know, because that's probably one of the worst things, other than the leather, if you're leather shoes, obviously. But the glues are not animal friendly most of the time. And so, I've always said that it's, sometimes you have to, it's like using natural dyes. A lot of natural dyes do not last as long as the dyes that are meant to last for longer than your shirt. All right? They've dyed your cotton shirt with dyes that are going to last longer. No. Anyway, and so, that's just a part of that's what it is. But all I need to do is just get myself some shoe goo and put it on there and put my sole back on and be done with it. I've been doing that since high school, Anyway. All right. Well, there you have it. If you're wondering, it's the 3rd week of Hemp History Month. What are you wearing, Beach? Now you know.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know. All right. Well, here is a randomly picked trailer, and we'll be back with the news and some more history.
Epic.
Epic indeed. The Hemp Quest. Another side effect of stoner hemp brain disease. Always being on a hemp quest. Continual all the time. All right. Well, let's, usually I end the news with recipes, but let's start the news with some recipes. So there's an article, and it was 4 quick and healthy breakfasts with 30 grams of protein. 3 of these contained hemp in the recipe. And so here is the one for a smoothie. And again, I don't really care what kind of smoothie you drink. If you're not adding hemp seed to it, then you're just you're wasting the greatness of having hemp seed in your smoothie. It's probably right now, if I was to take a poll, it's probably the most acceptable way that people use hemp hearts probably is in smoothies. I don't know how many of them think about if they do use them in their smoothies. Once again, you can sprinkle them over your salad. You can put them in your peanut butter jelly sandwich, whatever. You can add them to almost anything, either way. But I do think the popularity of hemp seed in smoothies, which really started probably 10 years ago, when the kind of the smoothie thing really was getting big. Here in Cincinnati anyway. And again, if you're watching somewhere else in the world, you'd be like, smoothie's been big for 20 years in New York. I'm like, well, yeah, Cincinnati's 10 years behind everywhere. All right. When I opened Hemptations, I was 20 years ahead because Cincinnati was 10 years behind. Anyway, the fact of the matter is if I took a poll and I said, do you use hemp? I would say that probably 50% of the people that responded to yes would say they use it in their smoothies. Either way, I don't know. Especially food-wise, because I do think it's the most acceptable use of hemp seed. And everybody knows about it because most people make smoothies, or a lot of people make the smoothies, and they want a high amount of protein. And you can't go research smoothies like high protein smoothies and not come up with 10 different recipes or just hemp seed on the list of best things to add to a smoothie for protein, amongst all the other things that hemp seed is nutritionally valuable for. Okay, that's a good enough rant about smoothies anyway. What do we got next? What do we got next? The scrambled eggs.
There you go.
And I know that I didn't, do the instructions, but, if you know how to make scrambled eggs, this is it. I will have to say that I do remember it's you let the eggs scramble for a minute in the pan, cook them up just a little bit, and then you add your yogurt and some other things, and you kind of scramble that in with them. But either way, it's just kind of putting it all in there, and then once again, the hemp seed is kind of optional, and I don't know why. Just make it part of the recipe, not optional.
Right.
Even if it's only a teaspoon. Either way. But, who doesn't love scrambled eggs?
Indeed.
Either way. Although, I don't think vegans eat eggs. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. But anyway. So there's a good old scrambled eggs. All right, we got one more, and this is kind of the long version of a recipe that I shared a couple weeks ago, as far as a good healthy snack, and that recipe was basically just Greek yogurt, fruit, and hemp seed. This one's, you're adding a little bit more to your yogurt, but basically that's what this is it's yogurt with some components, so to speak. And so, yogurt's healthy, but then you start, adding the other things, and you get, the beneficial part of the fruit, and you get the beneficial part of the hemp seed, and, you get all those beneficial parts of all those other things, and it's more of a multi-nutritional based snack or food, for that matter. And again, got to be Greek yogurt. If it ain't Greek yogurt, it's crap. And I know that's not how the joke goes. If you don't know, it was Scottish before, but I have noticed that I've never seen, or very rarely, I should say, very rarely seen, where it was a yogurt recipe and it didn't say Greek yogurt.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess I'm only ignorant to the facts as to what makes it Greek yogurt. But I will say that I do know that I take it for what it's worth, and what I know is the Mediterranean diet is the healthiest diet on the planet. It's been well researched. And so, to take those Greeks with their yogurt, that it makes. I'm going to go with it's got to be healthy then, right? Or healthier than say regular yogurt, like like United States of America yogurt cannot compete. No, I'm sure there's plenty of people in the United States making Greek yogurt.
Mhm.
I am sure of it. All right. Um, Minnesota is one of those states that is going to protect their hemp businesses before the ban. So they are. They actually, I think the governor there, Tim Walz, has already signed something. Either way, so good for the Minnesota. And again, Minnesota is like, it's so crazy. And Tim Walz, I think, he totally gets it, because in Minnesota, the whole hemp THC, the whole legal THC from hemp thing started with the drinks, and this was years ago, and it was addressed, and it was checked, and then, once again, it was 100% legal what they were doing, and then the state embraced it. They said, okay. I don't know if they embraced it, but I'm sure Tim Walz probably enjoyed himself a couple. I don't want to assume anything about anyone, but he's been spotted wearing hemp. Um, but anyway, and so they understand the importance of it. And again, it's an age thing. They were right out of the gate saying, yes, it's 21 and older, no questions. We're going to take care of that. And they haven't looked back, and that's it. They pretty much just let the business go, collected the tax revenue, and let the adults go among their doing their business. And, like I've said for the last, I don't know how many years, about, not one state has like swirled into the pits of hell because they legalized cannabis or accepted any part of cannabis in any way.
Mhm.
And so it can't be as bad for the kids as they say it is, because the kids aren't supposed to get it. That's what the age restrictions are for. And this is what's funny is now Illinois, and again, Illinois has been going through it because the governor there didn't want to change it, but his attorney general tried to ban all the stuff. And again, he got checked, and the governor, nope. But guess what they finally came up with? A logical plan. Some age restrictions and this, that, and all the other, so that these businesses compete on the same line as all the other adult businesses fairly. So I'm just glad to see that, he couldn't let it go. I don't think he wanted to let it go, the way they kept attacking it. But he came up with the logical solution, which is the same solution that I've been, you can watch 20 high noon hemp shows. And I guarantee you, in any one of those 20 shows, I will tell you that if you want to make it 21, that's fine. Bans don't work. If you want to make it 21, that's fine. Put it behind the counters, blah, blah, blah. I'm all for that. Product placement and 21 and up. That's the only thing it needs. Regulate product placement and 21 and up, and be done with it. Let us 21 and older olds go down to wherever we want to, not a particular place, wherever we want to, get our products, get carded if we look young, and go home with them. I mean, that's what we're fighting for right now in Ohio. And that's what we'll be fighting for in November if the federal ban goes through. All right. So it looks like I reported on this ban on these warrantless searches of hemp businesses in New York City. Well, apparently that it's done, and the sheriff's department in New York City can go back to warrantless searches of hemp shops. Hey, Mondami, that don't sound right. You fighting for the little man. What makes the authorities anywhere think they can do warrantless searches?
Yeah.
I don't even understand how this is what a judge would even say this is even. I mean, I just don't even know what to say. I mean, what's the probable cause?
Yeah.
What kind of problem is it? Just because it says hemp, their hemp store on their front window, that's probable cause to search? I just don't. I can't fathom how anywhere in the freest country in the world, any sheriff's department can conduct any warrantless search without probable cause. Just want to know what the probable cause is. Okay, what is the probable cause that they say they can do this? Anyway, it's a travesty to hemp shops' rights in New York City. It's a travesty. We're about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country, and they might as well just be stomping on the hemp flags, which is what most of them were originally, hemp or wool. I should have mentioned that in last week's show, as well as I forgot to mention that the drafts of the Declaration of Independence, of course, were written on hemp paper. But anyway, I digress. The flags should be made out of hemp. And, this type of warrantless search okayness just tramples them. Just tramples. Just tramples those hemp flags. All right. North Carolina is going to try to go 21, and they just recently tried to ban, and I think they did ban something, if I remember correctly, maybe THCA. Excuse me. Get some coffee out of my hemp coffee cup real quick. Another side effect of stoner hemp brain disease: I cannot drink coffee out of anything but hemp. Anyway, that is a lie. Because in desperate moments, I'll drink coffee out of my hands. Anyway, New Zealand is officially going 1% THC in their hemp. It's huge. I don't remember if I reported on them or someone else just recently, and it might have been them talking about it, but it's done deal as far as I know, that you can have up to now 1% THC in your hemp, which again is a game changer in the guise of just not having to worry about it. Less than 1%. And again, New Zealand is embracing the food. New Zealand is embracing the composites. I've shown more than one hemp composite motorcycle frame, and they're very big on their hemp food industry there. And this is what all this is about. And less that you have to worry about. There is no THC in the seed. There is no THC in those composites made from the plant. And and if they're growing, if THC from hemp is legal there, then that allows them to do better with the plant. I don't know. I picture New Zealand being very cannabis friendly for all purposes. Like, I can't imagine governments in New Zealand being like, you guys shouldn't be smoking pot. I mean, it's New Zealand. It's beautiful. It's got, again, there's like no reason why they shouldn't be enjoying it. That's for sure. But anyway, I don't know. I've never had a New Zealander tell me how friendly or not friendly they are. I've never really seen. I don't see a whole lot of stuff coming out of there like they're not friendly, but I want to. I don't know. I don't know as far as the recreational acceptance of that. But I do know that they are embracing hemp as, for all of the other industrial purposes that it has. And I think going to 1% is a genius move. It's a genius move. It only supports the average farmer once again saying, yeah, it's less, even less criminalized. You guys aren't worried about that kind of stuff as much. I'll get into it. So good move, New Zealand. Someday maybe I'll visit. No, I need to find. I don't know. I don't know that There's so far I haven't had anything to add a place in New Zealand to like my top 5 places I want to visit as far as hemp related places. But this next place is on the list, and I have reported on this, and the project is getting a lot of publicity right now. But Zac Efron's house, which I reported it was going to be a hemp house. I didn't have a whole lot of details at the time because they were just kind of starting. But I have gotten some details now. They're calling it the Future Cave. And he did or had someone do the research on the most environmentally friendly aspect of every part of the house. From the ground up, whatever we're putting in this house has to be the most environmentally friendly product, so to speak. So, and of course, it's getting built out of, and this is in Australia. And Australia's coming. They've been keen. Parts of Australia have been very keen to hemp. I reported originally, and I've known for a long time that the famous director Cameron, Avatar dude, he was growing hemp in Australia years and years and years and years and years. And I learned that because his fields were raided by some kids trying to get some flour, and they were very disappointed. But they did admit that he was growing hemp, and I think they were doing it for food products at the time. I never ever got James Cameron, I'd love to have a conversation with you and why you were growing hemp in Australia, and are you still? Zac Efron, when the place gets done and you want to do the High Noon Hemp Show, fly me over. We will do it. We will do the High Noon Hemp Show from the Future Cave. It'll probably be the longest one ever as we tour the house. Because again, we got internal bricks. Those are going to be joinery, hemp joinery, curtains, pillows, mattresses. Again, they're going to try. They're using hemp in every way that they can in this. And it's kind of a neat thing because, from my understanding, it's like a 6-pod dwelling. Either way. So he's got guest rooms. Put me up for a night.
Right.
We'll do the show. Time change is going to be a little rough. I don't know. Is it 12 hours? I guess we should be doing the show at midnight instead of high noon, but it'd be high noon here. Does that matter? Or do I do it high noon there and it's midnight here? Man, Zach, we'll work it out. Just give me a call, get a hold of me, email me, get a hold of me on Facebook. It doesn't matter. When the house is done, we want to do a show there. And this is, it's definitely going to, honestly, at this point, because it could be the hempiest house on the planet when it's done. You're going to have to go to the top of the visitor list as it is, but I'm just going to have to stand out front the gate, jump up to see it. I'm sure. I don't know how popular is Zac Efron in Australia. How much time are you going to be spending there, Zach? I don't know. Anyway, either way, the the thing that I like most about it is the publicity that he's getting. And it's going to push that demand for hemp in all forms in construction. And so I thank you for that, Zac Efron. Keep up the good work. Keep promoting it. I will love, even if you just do a tour, eventually when it's all done, and point out all the hemp stuff so we know. You could probably have something edited up a lot better than I could. So. Well, we are going full circle, like truly full hemp circle in Turkey. Okay, because Turkey is where we have found the oldest piece of archaeologically remnants of hemp. Okay, a piece of twine on a piece of pottery. Fertile Crescent. I've talked about that. In the very first episode of this month. Go back 2 episodes. That was 28 million years to year 0. And of course, hemp comes out of Fertile Crescent. But anyway, the oldest piece of hemp that we have found ever came out of Turkey. So Turkey is now betting on hemp to help their troubled textile industry. They are making a huge push to encourage the farmers in Turkey to stop growing cotton and start growing hemp. Okay. Now I don't know, how much of, hopefully that will also turn into possibly going to the food products, looking more into that. But, the fact of the matter is, hemp is the strongest natural fiber on the planet. It doesn't require the herbicides and pesticides. And so everybody that wants to make advancements in their textile industry in any country, anywhere in the world, has to invest in hemp. If we want to be the leaders of the future of textiles in the world, we have to invest in hemp. For its superiority to cotton and for its friendliness to the planet when it comes to polyester. And of course, cotton is also super unfriendly. I mean, cotton's got 2 things going against it. Like, I don't know why every field in the world just get rid of your last crop of cotton and next year plant hemp. Anyway, I wish it could just happen like that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is without investing in the textile, hemp is a textile, you're going backwards wherever you are, or at least sideways, which is status quo. And status quo is not what we need. All right. It's not what we need. Article 5 reasons to wear hemp this summer. 5 reasons to wear hemp this summer. First one is odor resistant. So, hemp material, antibacterial, antimicrobial, and it's very breathable. And that's more the weave than it is the material. But the fact of the matter is most of the weaves still end up being very breathable. It's the nature of the plant. And the natural strength and durability. I just talked about that. UV resistance. And of course, a lot of materials, and again, this is also somewhat of a weave, depending on what weave it is. But it's it's something I've talked about before, is how UV resistant it is. The environmental footprint, I just talked about that. It is the most environmentally friendly fiber on the planet, without question. Without question. All right. You can say, maybe even bring up your bamboo. Well, guess what? Guess what bamboo needs a lot of to be made into material? Water, just like cotton. Hemp does not require that. Hemp does not require that. All right. Any of the short fibers. Flax is good because flax is a long fiber, not as long as hemp, which is why it's not as strong as hemp, but that's why most linen is made from flax. All right. It does not require as much water, but it does not grow as tall and it is not as strong. Um, and so, once again, I think the funniest thing, I remember seeing a commercial for cotton, and they're like, "Cotton, it's natural," and I'm like, they actually, in my opinion, are very close to line because cotton is very close to using at least 30% of the herbicides and pesticides worldwide to be grown. To actually be considered natural, to put natural on a product in the United States, you can have only used 30% unnatural products. So to be labeled natural, it's only got to be 70% natural. And so I feel like if anybody really wanted to challenge them, they were very close to very much 100% lying about cotton even being natural as a material. It's the leading user of all herbicides and pesticides in the world. Only organic cotton is okay. Only organic cotton is okay. Here's a cute little pair of shorts. These are the Kinsey hemp shorts from Astra, which is a new clothing company out of Asheville. And again, North Carolina is a state. That's where most of the material industry is in the United States. And they are also understanding and really moving forward with hemp as a fiber for material. So I like the look. I'm gonna have to go check out Astra's website to see what else they have. Either way, in hemp stuff, but good job, Astra. This is kind of exciting. So there's a hemp farm outside of Paris, and they say it's an intersection between agriculture, art, and environmental science. Here's some of the art and the building. Okay, this is one of the buildings built out of hempcrete. And then this art is on hemp material. And for the history of it, France is the only country that never stopped growing hemp. It's the only country that's never stopped growing hemp. And here's a little bit more art for you to look at on some hemp material. And again, that's a hemp wall. Either way. And this last picture, I love this picture of the hemp because you can just tell how tall it is taller. You know, and that is some decently tall hemp growing there, which is what they're growing there, which they know. I mean, I would say now, Italy is known for growing the finest hemp out there. I think that France and there's probably some competition in France for that now. Only because France is ahead of the game. You're going to find out here in a minute when it comes to say hempcrete. But they haven't really embraced the food or the fiber material part of it as much as for as long as they've embraced, say, the building material part of it. And again, one reason is because most of the hemp in France is grown for rolling papers. Always has been. That's why they never stopped growing it. Okay? That's why France never stopped growing hemp, because the majority of that hemp was for rolling papers. Now, the hempcrete was, I believe, the fact that they had all this, what we call herd, left over. And, who knows what they did with it up until that point. Just maybe put it back in the fields. I don't know. All of a sudden, the idea of the hempcrete comes along. And so that's why, because the paper or the fiber that they're growing is going to the paper, not clothing. But that herd started going towards the hempcrete, and they embraced that. And all the way up. And I'll talk about more of France and hempcrete when we get to some history, because their history starts after 1937 on that one. Anyway, well, no, it doesn't. I talked about France and hempcrete 600 years old. Sorry about that last week. All right. Just got one event to talk about coming up in a week or two. June 26th through 27th is the Oregon Hemp Fest. So guaranteed to be a crowd pleaser. Either way, plenty of good vibes and cannabis in Oregon. That's all I can say about that. So either way. All right. Well, let's go through a little bit of history from 1937. I'm going to kind of basically come up to present as much as I can. So I left everybody last week. In 1937, Marijuana Tax Act makes all cannabis growing, including hemp, illegal in the United States of America. 1938, the year after this happens, Popular Mechanics says hemp is the next billion-dollar crop. 1937, we can't grow hemp in America anymore, in the United States anymore. 1938, Popular Mechanics says it's the next billion-dollar crop. This is the ignorance around the 1937 Marijuana Tax Act. 1941, Henry Ford builds a car out of hemp. All right. And that car runs on hemp oil. Now, part of this, now I know that postcard I showed earlier said that it was in the 30s, and that vehicle that was on that postcard was not the hemp car. I'm sorry that I didn't. I meant to clarify that earlier, but the car they showed was not the hemp car. That there was a very famous, and I if I would have had more time, I'd have this picture ready to show. But there's a very famous picture of Henry Ford taking a sledgehammer to the fender of a car. That's the hemp car. That's the biomaterial car. Okay, that also ran on hemp fuel. As I mentioned last week, biodiesel or diesel was biodiesel originally, not petrochemically based. The whole reason that Henry Ford did not produce this car was the fact that there were two reasons, actually. When he initially released it, within 1 year from then, the government, there it is, 1 year from the time that he made this car, the United States government releases a video imploring farmers, called Hemp for Victory. Go watch it on YouTube. Imploring farmers to grow hemp for the war. All right. So now Henry Ford doesn't have the hemp, as much as he doesn't have the steel. The whole idea came out from the fact that they knew they were going to need steel once American involvement, or now we're in American involvement in the war. So they wanted to make a biomaterial that was as strong as steel, and that's why this car came about. Now that hemp, again, that was as necessary to the war as steel was. And so all of a sudden, all that goes. We're talking parachutes, riggings, uniforms, everything. I've talked about how hemp saved George Bush Sr.'s life, because the parachute, the ropes that pulled him up out onto the ship, the uniforms, and all these things were all made out of hemp. And that's why the United States government implored that we grew it for the war effort. And that's why Henry Ford didn't have any Um, all of a sudden, the war ends. Hemp's illegal to grow in the United States. Henry Ford is not going to import hemp from China. And so the hemp car just disappears. It's never talked about again, never mentioned. I don't know where it is. I hope it's in the Ford Museum. I don't know for sure if it's in the Ford Museum. If I got someone that verified it was in the Ford Museum, then I would maybe take a trip up there to see it. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. I mean, I might have to call them to find out. Somebody verify for me. I've looked at the Ford Museum website, and they don't specifically mention it. But I don't have any verification either way. But anyway, it's probably just like sitting in the back corner of a warehouse covered up somewhere. No one even knows it's there. It's hard if it's not in the museum. And so anyway, the Ford hemp car never gets made, uh, and and because of the ban. There is one farm in the United States that gets to continue to grow hemp in Wisconsin, and they grow hemp all the way up, I believe, into the late 50s, if I remember correctly. And I've never verified this or not, but I always believed that actual farm had a contract with the government, maybe to supply the hemp for stuff. I don't know. I've never come across any real details. I know they exist. I think it was 1959 is when they finally stopped growing. I know that the Wisconsin State Police run around the state in the fall, cutting down old hemp fields that grow back wildly every year, calling it marijuana, stack it up and burn it for the news to come look at, like they're saving us all. And that's all it is. I remember the first time I saw video of them. Oh, state police in Wisconsin burning thousands of pounds of marijuana that they found, and I'm like, 100% you can tell by looking at it that it was hemp plants. Anyway, so we used to call ditchweed in Kentucky, which was leftover hemp from when Kentucky was the largest grower of industrial hemp in the United States, right up to the Marijuana Tax Act. So anywhere you find ditchweed, or if you've grown up somewhere that had ditchweed, that's what it is. It's just leftover. It was hemp. It was left over. Um, and it's usually on the outskirts, like it's literally usually in the ditches because it came out of the fields and still survived in the ditches, um, just because that's how resilient it is, and it doesn't take that seed will pop up if you give it the space. Um, so we kind of jump ahead at this point. We can jump ahead to 1969 where they changed the spelling of marijuana. So the Marijuana Tax Act was repealed. There was 6 months where cannabis was actually legal in the United States. Most people don't know this, where the Marijuana Tax Act was repealed, but then marijuana spelled not with an H but a J is on the controlled substance list. Okay, little switcheroo there, because showing once again when they were using their propaganda against marijuana originally, they came up with that word. They made that up. That's why farmers didn't know they were talking about hemp. A lot of doctors didn't know they were talking about cannabis, or that included cannabis, um, which of course it's all cannabis. But anyway, so we come in and we kind of jump ahead to like maybe the mid '90s, which is or early '90s. My particular hemp history starts in the early '90s. My first hemp purchase was a little hemp bag at Kings Island in the leather shop. Ironically, I was drawn to it. I swear to you, I was drawn to it. And I still have that little bag. I started my research on hemp at Heidelberg in the early '90s. Graduating from my final speech to graduate for my communications degree was on industrial hemp, not legalization, not medical, but on industrial hemp. Um, And so, that's what kind of started. And I didn't even know then. Again, I didn't foresee then. I did not say to myself at any time in college that I was going to start a hemp business. In the spring of 1995, my original partner said to me, I want to start a business. I got up without hesitation. I walked over to my copy of The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and I said, I want to sell hemp stuff. We were driving up the highway when I said Hemptations for the first time. And then I said it about 30 times, having Hemptations. Hemptations? Having Hemptations? Hemptations? And that was that. That's how it all started. We were most more than likely first. I know we were the first to sell food, hemp nut, guaranteed. And then there was Mama Indica snacks and a little bit of other stuff. But we were definitely the first in Cincinnati, in the high state area, I should say, to sell hemp foods. There was a little shop in Short Vine that actually had some hemp bags, so I'm not gonna say we were the first to sell hemp material goods. We were definitely the first to sell CBD. Definitely the first to sell hemp composites, plastic goods. Probably, but I cannot verify for sure that we were the first to sell hemp cosmetics. The first ones we had were lotions and lip balms. But I would almost guess. That we were the first to sell those products as well here in the high state area. And of course now, largest selection of hemp on the planet. Possibly the oldest smoke store in the world. Or not smoke store, I'm sorry, the oldest hemp store, true hemp store in the world. I'm yet to get verification from anywhere that anybody knows about a hemp store, a true hemp store. It's got to be a true hemp store. Okay, like had real hemp products from day one and still sells real hemp products. That's we're going to do 31 in September. So you know. But anyway, now we go back to 1988. This is the first hempcrete house in France. This is what kind of got this started. And then all of a sudden you see the gendarme booths, the police booths that are all over cities. Those are getting made out of hempcrete because it's flame retardant. And so that's pretty interesting. Now, the tallest hempcrete building since then is in Australia, 12 stories, and this just got completed a couple years ago. And so it's very likely that house in France, as far as we know, was the first modern hempcrete dwelling or building of any type. And we move forward to present day, and we have a 12-story hempcrete building in Australia. And in Paris, there's multiple 5 to 7-story hempcrete buildings. They almost immediately after this, they start to understand the insulation benefits of hempcrete. Stays cooler in the summer, warmer in the winter. The residents notice the difference. So it's just so much more efficient. We're talking about electricity bills here in the United States now. If we've been building more and more structures with hempcrete insulation, we'd be living in a more efficient world. There's no doubt. In the 90s, you've got Mercedes and BMW both using hemp composites, hemp plastics. I believe, if I remember correctly, Mercedes was part of the sunroof plastics, and BMW was some type of ventilation plastics. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Um, that's evolved into BMW dropping the body weight of their electric vehicles by 20% by just replacing the door panels with hemp composites. Lotus has built an Eco Elise, which the body was hemp. There's been other hemp vehicles out there. Nothing mass produced yet, except for the Lotus. And I wouldn't say it mass produced because it was called the Eco Elise, and it had a very limited run. So but again, the future of hemp body vehicles only makes sense. It is just as strong, just as safe, lighter, more efficient, and it's hard to believe that we don't have. Once again, you use the material, and you can do hemp leather, fake faux leather, hemp faux leather. I just reported on that. I've reported on that a couple times. If you just want material seats, then you've got many options with hemp. And so we could easily green vehicles in a way that no one would notice. All vehicles are unibody vehicles. And so making them out of hemp is nothing. All right. We can 3D print hemp, but we can injection mold. And that's the important thing here is it can be hemp composites can be injection molding. And that's how I can't even guess how much of the plastic world is injection molding, if not all of it for the most part. I mean, obviously 3D printing has come about recently, but most plastic products are made through injection molding, which is something we know hemp can do. Um, so, there's an entire industry. Once again, we could get rid of the current uses, whatever it is, go to hemp just in vehicles. And you're going to have a more efficient, again, because it's lighter, it's going to be more efficient, just as safe, eco-friendly. And again, no one cares. In the long run, no one cares what their seat is made out, what material their seat is out of, unless they want leather. But once again, we can do faux leather. I don't know how that works up in the long run, but either way, doesn't matter. No one really cares what the body of their vehicle is made of. They just want it painted a pretty color, and they want it to look cool. All right? That's the reason that we don't have the vehicles we should be driving, which would be much more efficient, is because they make vehicles to the vehicles they think we want, not the vehicles we really should have. And that's United States capitalism at its finest. I am not here to argue that for 1 minute. But they could very easily make those vehicles out of hemp, and no one would care. No one would care. I mean, if the truck looks like the truck you want, they don't care whether it's made out of steel, fiberglass, or hemp. They just know that it looks good and they like it. And it's going to keep them safe if they care. Some people don't. But, it can be anything. Sport from anything. And so, that's just yet a whole nother industry that has not even begun. And again, Isaiah Thomas, I've reported on this down in South America. Isaiah Thomas, he's going to be the first one to probably get rich and get his products in vehicles because they're going full blown, dedicating themselves to car parts made out of hemp composite. It's just one of the parts of his new business. I say new, but it's been years actually. Either way. So we get up to 2004. 2004 is the HIA versus the DEA. The Hemp Industries Association sues the DEA because the DEA is saying that they're going to start raiding Whole Foods because they can't say 0% THC. Now there is 0%, but then you've got your parts per million, yada, yada, yada. All right. This comes up with the most important hemp ruling in the modern history of hemp. And what that ruling was, the judge said he created the source code. That's what it's called, the source code, when it comes to cannabis. And the judge said, if the source is hemp, it's legal. If the source is marijuana, it's illegal. Just like that. All right. Now, we're not growing hemp in the United States. So that's just everything imported. Everything imported. And, shortly after that, I was selling CBD because it was extracted from hemp in China at the time. Again, very likely, we were one of the first stores in the United States to have CBD products. Very likely. Again, I don't know, other people's timeline there, but I do know I was selling CBD before anyone was making a CBD product in the United States. And then, then those came along slowly but surely. Either way. But that source code, all of a sudden, hemp food is gaining popularity. There was a lot more hemp foods roughly after that. Now, unfortunately, a lot of hemp food companies, once again, because it's how the government does it, they met their demise in that time period because of the government saying that these things were illegal until the, whatever. And so that hurt, especially at like Hemp Nut, who's the first, and all of a sudden. But then after that, things spiked a little bit. Like I remember Whole Foods having hemp chips and all kinds of hemp bread and all that stuff, which still exists a little bit, but kind of then, it wasn't as prevalent. But that's when we also start seeing like hemp lotion showing up on the shelves at Walmart. What this did was allowed the big box stores to no longer worry about the stigma. Say, hey, it says it's hemp. Judge said hemp is 100% legal. Let's put this stuff on the shelves. And so, that's where we really started to see more general hemp products popping up here and there, and more accepted amongst the masses in the retail world. 2013 was the big deal, the Farm Bill, the original Farm Bill, which defined what industrial hemp was, which was technically cannabis sativa L with less than 0.3% THC. At the time, you had to go through a school of higher learning or the Department of Agriculture to grow. So you go through there, then those places say, yes, you can order this seed, and then the DEA still had to take those seeds off the controlled substance list, and then you could grow. The first year, 2014, we grew about 100 acres in the United States of America. By 2016, 2017, approaching the 2018 Agricultural Act, which took hemp off the controlled substance list, we're growing 80 to 100,000 acres. 2018 Agricultural Act takes hemp off the controlled substance list, which is a game changer, huge game changer. It decriminalized it a lot in the minds of the average farmer. We still had we're still going through a lot of hurdles when it comes to it, but it would on surface, because I've always said most farmers, if they're growing cotton or soy now, they're not going to switch to hemp when they learn what they have to go through in most states, or some states, especially in Ohio, just to grow it. Still, before 2018, they were all vanguards. And again, it was mostly CBD. It wasn't growing for fiber. It wasn't growing for food. We're still in a situation now, currently, where it is still not treated as fairly as it should, and the average farmer isn't going to switch. But that's what we need. That's what we need. We need to keep doing that. And that pretty much brings us up to the present, for the most part. Next week, I'm just gonna kind of focus on the future of hemp history, and then the week after that, we were going to go back to the 250th celebration of the United States of America, and I will dive even deeper into the revolution and to how important hemp was to us getting to 250 years. Right, wrong, or indifferent. All right? I do not believe that Columbus discovered America. But anyway, I do know that we are the United States of America currently, and that's where we live. And so that is what that is. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Once again, the High Noon Hemp Show. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle. Make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.